Hey you guys, welcome to the Blended with Henry show. I got a request from my viewer Alex T to do a food processor versus standard Vitamix container video. So let's do this. Today we're comparing the food processor attachment to both the Vitamix 64 ounce and the 48 ounce container. But before we get started, I recently hosted the Vitamix 100th anniversary cookbook giveaway. Now I gave away 5 cookbooks and one of my winners named Travis M was kind enough to send me a proud picture of him holding the cookbook. Now right on and congrats Travis, and thanks so much for your support. Alright, so let's get started with the comparison. Now this is the Vitamix food processor attachment, and this is the 64 ounce standard wet container. Now both products work with the Vitamix Ascent and Venturous machines, and they do similar things you guys, but they are not the same. For instance, the food processor is round in shape like a bowl. Now the container may look round, but it's not, and I'm going to show you. Now check out these indentations here. They serve a purpose. And this part that looks rounded is actually flat. Now it's the same design all around the container. This design helps to force the ingredients downward towards the blades for efficient blending because the food is bouncing off the container walls. Now the 48 ounce container has the same indentations and flat walls and performs exactly the same way as the 64 ounce. The food processor attachment has a multi-purpose blade that's designed to spin the ingredients around during processing. Now that I've shown you the differences between each, we're done. Okay? No, but it's important to know that there's no one size fits all, you guys, when it comes to preparing recipes, and it's all about using the proper tool to get the job done. So let's get started with the cheese. Now both the food processor attachment and the Vitamix container can process cheese, but there is a difference on what they can do. So let's get started with the 48 ounce container. Now I cut up blocks of Parmesan cheese. Placing the lid in place. And I'm blending on the highest speed. So what you're getting here is grated Parmesan cheese, and I have to tell you guys honestly, the only way to enjoy it is to grate it fresh. Much better than a can. Now let's process cheese in the food processor attachment. Of course you can grate Parmesan cheese in the food processor, but because you can use processing discs, you're also able to shred cheese, which gives you a lot more flexibility. The standard Vitamix container only has the capability to grate cheese in a powdered form and is generally done with Parmesan only. Now the food processor can shred and process cheese of many types, which makes it far more versatile when cutting cheese. Vitamix advertises wet chopping in the standard container, and it does work. Now I'm using the 64 ounce container with a quarter slice of cabbage. Now you want to fill the container with cold water until the cabbage floats. Place the lid in place. And you want to pre-adjust the speed to the highest and pulse just 3 or 4 times. Now you pour it through a strainer and you get instant chopped cabbage. This is the quickest way to chop cabbage for slaw, but because it's chopped, it's not the type of slaw you would use on a Reuben sandwich. Now let's do it with the food processor. Once again, you can chop the cabbage like the standard container, but because you can use processing discs, you can also shred the cabbage for slaw to put on gourmet sandwiches or for a nice salad presentation at parties. Incidentally, when making salads, you can also slice veggies in the food processor, which is something that cannot be done with the standard container. In the Vitamix container, you can actually process raw potatoes for hash browns. Let me show you. In the 64-ounce container, I have one large raw potato cut in half filled with water until it floats. Now at the highest speed, pulse just a few times. Now again, for wet chopping, you're just going to pour it through a strainer. Now, just like the cabbage, the standard container chops the potato into small pieces, which can be used when you're making hash brown patties, which is fine for me because I love hash browns in any form, right? Now let's try it with the food processor. With the shred disc, you're able to get shredded potatoes, which is more common for hash browns. This is what restaurant-style hash browns look like, and you cannot get this with the standard Vitamix container. Vitamix does advertise that you can make bread dough and pizza dough in the dry grains container, but it comes with its challenges. When I introduced the Vitamix 780, I created dough in the 32-ounce dry container. It was a tedious task. Now, the bread turned out great. Well, of course it did. I made it. Okay. All right. Now, let's try it with the food processor. Not only was this easy to do with the food processor attachment, it was quick and hassle-free. Now here's the finished product, which turned out great. I made a quick pizza dough the same way in the food processor attachment. You can make frozen desserts in both the food processor and the standard container, and results can be similar, but there's still a huge difference. In the food processor, I'm making a quick nice cream using only frozen bananas and no liquid. Okay, I'm attaching the lid, and then we'll blend. Now with the food processor, you will have to stop and scrape down the sides, and there is a downside to doing this. Now the nice cream came out great, you guys, but because the blending takes longer and we had to stop, scrape, and restart the blend, that slows down the process, which leads to a soft serve consistency. Now with the Vitamix container, I'm using frozen strawberries with no liquid. The Vitamix container turns out really frozen sorbet, as you can see as I turn it upside down. Now this is the advantage of using the standard container over the food processor. You can actually scoop the frozen dessert, especially if you want to make cones. The same holds true even with the new Vitamix One, which is a lower powered machine. Once again, frozen results, quick and easy with no stopping or scraping. So you guys, when making a quick ice cream, the Vitamix standard container wins on many accounts. With the food processor, it can take anywhere from 5 to 8 minutes, whereas the standard container can take under 1 minute to process. Now, if you want firm scoops with the food processor, you will have to place your mixture into the freezer for an hour to achieve the same results as the standard container can offer. So once again, you guys, it's about using the right tool to get the job done. Now here I have a list of best uses for the food processor attachment and the standard Vitamix container. Now, best use for the food processor attachment: creating bread dough, slicing veggies for slaw or salads, grating and shredding cheese of multiple types, shredding potatoes and veggies, grinding and slicing meats, and dry chopping. Now the best use for the standard Vitamix container: making smoothies, frozen drinks, quick frozen desserts, quick nut butters, whole juices, hot soups, and nut milks. Just like my herb-infused creamy sweet onion soup shown here, you can make many recipes from the Vitamix 100th Anniversary Cookbook using both the Vitamix food processor attachment and the standard Vitamix container, along with various other Vitamix accessory products. Alright you guys, thank you so much. I had fun making this video. Now if you want to purchase a Vitamix machine or the Vitamix cookbook, there will be links below the video or on blendingwithhenry.com. See you soon.